We get this right this time, okay?
All
Uh,
right.
so first, go ahead and introduce yourself, name, age, where you're from, single, have kids, all that good stuff.
My name is Deshavon, affectionately known by most people as Meisha. I'm 40. I am married, and between the two of us, we have 6 children.
6 kids.
Yeah, 6.
How is having 6 kids?
Uh, I feel like you gotta be kind of like a little psycho to have that many kids because you gotta be a different parent to all 6 of them, different personalities. Like, so they keep me on my toes, but I don't know what I would do with a small family.
Um, would you say that you have a favorite kid?
No, I don't.
Do you feel
I
like
love them equally.
do you feel like there's a child that needs more attention from you?
Um, it depends. I do have, I feel like the independent children need the most attention. So I try to make sure that I give them a little extra TLC. But um, honestly, right now I'm only raising one more. All the rest of them are grown. So he's kind of getting all the attention.
How old is your oldest kid?
My oldest is 22,
Okay, and how old is your youngest kid?
15.
And how many kids do you have at home?
Right now, two and one is getting ready to go off to college.
Ooh, you excited about that?
I'm nervous. Like at first I thought it was gonna be okay, but like the closer it gets time to drop him off, I don't know how I'm gonna feel because the most I've ever been away from him his whole life is probably 2 weeks at a
Now,
time, if that.
do you have 3 girls, 3 boys, or what's the
Yeah,
okay.
3 and 3.
Okay. Lucky, man.
Yeah.
Lucky. I had the whole 1 and 1 for a long time, and then boom, now I got
Yeah.
3 boys and 1 girl, man. Big shout out to my daughter.
Aw.
She's gonna
Gotta
be
be tough
well,
to be around all them boys.
yeah, she's gonna be well protected. At least I hope so. Got some
Absolutely.
problems. So, how long have you and your husband been together?
We have been together since it's a little complicated. So the technical time that we've been together since 2010. So 15 years in total.
Uh, and how long
Yeah.
have you been married?
We've been married for 11.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I was talking to somebody about this.
Yeah.
When it came to you and your husband, I'm assuming that
Hmm.
he asked you to marry him, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he asked you also before that he asked you to be in a relationship with him.
Yes.
Okay. The reason why I asked that is because I had a conversation on an episode where the woman couldn't understand that. So, okay, so basis of relationships, right? We're gonna start with relationships, I guess.
Okay.
Uh, basically, in the beginning, the woman is courted by the man, correct? We agree,
Hmm.
right? And so the man courts the woman. He acquiesces his behaviors to get the woman to, give him the time of day, in a sense, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, would you agree that women hold the key in the relationship at that point, all the way up until she gives up sex? Would you say that's accurate?
I don't know that to be 100% true. That is a possibility, but I don't know that I can say yes to that.
The reason why I say that, right, is because
Yeah.
if you think about relationships, right, uh,
Hmm.
when a man is courting a woman, have you ever dated a guy, before I say that, have you ever dated a guy where you talk to him, you guys dating, everything's going good, you guys have sex, and then you feel like the man changed after y'all had sex?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the reason why that happens, right? So let me just give you a little game. I know
Oh Lord.
you're a
Okay.
little bit older than me, but I'll give you a little game. The reason why that is because in the beginning, like I said, the man has to court the woman, right? And
Hmm.
the major the basic thing that a man wants from a woman is sex, right?
Okay.
So as long as you don't have sex with a man, you hold the keys. he's gonna do. You hold him in the palm of your hand. He's gonna do everything right. He's gonna, pretty much like I said, acquiesce his behaviors to get the sex because that's what the man's basic. That's the number one thing that men want from women. I don't care what man's out there is gonna tell you something different. That's the number one thing that he wants because women, you guys look for quality in men, and men look for quantity of women, right?
Okay.
That's where the whole term of not another notch on the belt comes from, right?
Okay.
And that's also why women say use that. You never heard a man say this term right here before. I could do bad all by myself, right? Because he's not looking for a woman to take care. A real man. We're talking about real men. We're not talking about these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm following.
A real man is not looking for a woman to take care of him. That's why he could care less about. And I'm not going to use this. I'm trying to stay away from the term alpha because I feel like the word alpha has been played out now, right? I'm talking about a real,
Yeah.
we'll just say a real man, right? He doesn't care about all the degrees you have. He doesn't care about the job you have. He doesn't care about the money you make. He don't care about what kind of car you drive. He don't care about none of that. Truly, he don't care. I'm talking about a true man who is trying to look for a wife, right?
Okay.
So, um, pretty much the main thing that he wants from you is the first thing, on the top of his
Hmm.
mind once he hits adolescence is sex. That's why they call them
Hmm.
horny little boys, right? Uh,
Right.
so as long as you don't give up the sex, he's going to acquiesce his behaviors to, you know, progress in the relationship, whatever status relationship you guys are with. And then once you guys have sex, right? You guys
Hmm.
typically, when people have sex together, they haven't decided to be a relationship, right? They haven't decided to be boyfriend, girlfriend on a serious level, typically in general, right?
Hmm.
And remember, I'm speaking in general. I'm not speaking,
Yeah.
into a specific situation, right? So
Right.
once he gets the sex, is now the time for the woman to acquiesce her behaviors to get the relationship because that's what women want. Most men don't think about women when you're kids. When you're a little girl, you think about your wedding day, you think about how you're gonna be as a mom, how many kids you want, all that kind of stuff. As a man right now, I tell you, I never thought about a wedding day. I never thought about having kids. I never thought about none of that. Once I hit adolescence, I just thought about, damn, she looked good. I'd smash, right? This is being honest, right? So
Yeah.
it's up to you, it's up to the female to make the man want to be not for the streets, for lack of better terms.
Okay.
But most women don't understand that. So they say once the man gets the sex and then he changes his behaviors, meaning that he stops doing the courting because he already courted
Hmm.
you. He already got you. Once you gave it to him, he's already courted you, right? So now it's
Okay.
time for the woman to acquiesce her behaviors to get him to say, "Hey, I'm a great woman. I'm a nurturing woman, right? I'm submissive, and I'm not talking about like submissive like bowing and saying you're my king. I'm not saying that. I'm saying submissive
Hmm.
like I trust you, and I'm willing to follow your lead, right? And
Okay.
those are the three things that men want from women. It's the main things that men want from women. The things that women want from men, they're not symmetrical. They're asymmetrical. Meaning they're not the same. They're not aligned. They're not the same things. Like I said, women want quality, right? So the two things that women want, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
you think about just the basic premise of what women want from men, protection and provision, right? Would you agree?
Hmm. I can agree.
Yeah, because as a 40-year-old woman, would you date an 18-year-old?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, and most people say, "Oh, it's because of the age." No, because if that 18-year-old was like built and like he was a built guy, took care of himself in the physical aspect, but he also had the means to take care of you, you might consider it. I'm not saying you, I'm just saying the average woman might consider it, right? Most women
Hmm.
watching this are going to say, hell no. But that's why you got these celebrities who are like 21 years old dating 40-year-old women because
Yeah.
he's usually fit. He's usually an athlete, so he's fit. He could probably defend her, physically defend her, and he got the means to take care of her, right? So he meets the standard, the basic standards, right? But what he doesn't have
Hmm.
is he doesn't have the mental compass to lead her and guide her. And that's why typically those relationships fall apart, right? So now that we're past that, I just wanted to see what you thought about that.
Okay.
How was it? How was life for you as a kid?
Um, I had a complex childhood. Um, I have some really great memories, and then I have some not so great memories.
What's a
And then
great
to
memory
be
you have?
a great memory, is definitely going to my grandma's house. My grandma Eva, shout out to her. That was my safe space growing up, and that's where all my cousins were. Like we spent a lot of time there. We got a lot of stories about stuff that we did down in that basement that would probably take to the grave, but just having memories with my cousins is probably and my siblings. 'Cause like I said, I'm the oldest child, so it was a little bit of time before I actually got siblings. But my boy cousins, they're like my brothers, so best memories are with them for sure.
And what's a bad memory you have?
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of one that's like I try to be mindful because I do have siblings, uh, and this is their dad, but there was a time where my mom and my stepdad they were like fighting real bad, and I remember him like drinking to the point where he passed out, and my mom woke us up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and was like, "Grab everything," like something out of a Lifetime movie. But
Yeah.
she was just like, "Grab what you can, throw everything in the bag," and my grandma came and picked us up down the block and took us back to her house for the night, and then put us on the train to come down to North Carolina.
Also, this happened in
And
what state?
New York. My mom got married. We moved back up north for a few years.
Okay. And where at this
Yeah,
time, where was your biological father?
I don't know.
Do you have a relationship with your biological father?
Um, he's since passed, but
I'm sorry to hear that.
thank you. Um, I would say I got a glimpse of what I felt our relationship would be um in the couple of months before he passed.
Okay.
But growing up, it wasn't like we had a bad relationship, but it wasn't great. My dad sucked at communicating. He sucked at talking about feelings. He didn't want to talk about anything from the past. He just kind of wanted to be in a moment. And as somebody who wanted to be a daddy's girl, I was looking for answers and closure. So that put a strain on our relationship. But I mean, it wasn't all bad. I'll say that, but it could have been better. Definitely.
So as somebody as a child who grew up without your biological father,
Yeah.
what kind of impact do you think that that had on you as a child?
Um, Honestly, I don't know because it's one of those situations where I don't know what I'm missing because I didn't have it. It wasn't like I had a glimpse of it and then like he just left and then I grew up without a dad. Like I've had like male role models, but I've never had like an actual like father figure to say like that's what I want. That's what I'm missing. So I don't know how to answer that,
Okay, so
honestly.
okay, so let's flip it to make it a little bit more easier to answer. As a
Okay.
mom,
Yeah.
as a mom, right? Uh, take your husband out of the picture, right?
Hmm.
Imagine yourself as a single mom.
Hmm.
What kind of struggles do you think your children will have not having the father there?
Um, Definitely structure because I felt like at one point I was a single mom and um trying to navigate that with my own trauma and then still trying to show up for my kids was difficult. So it would have been and there was a lot of times where I felt like I missed out because I had to working two jobs sometimes. So definitely having a helpmate, but I feel like fathers provide that structure. And not to say that I didn't do that, but it's different when there's a man in the house. Like, it's a different atmosphere and it's a different conversation. And I'm talking about a man that's present because you can have a man in the house and he not be there, but having a present father, I
Do you
felt
think
like that
that
would have been
children recognize the difference between a present father and a man who's just there?
absolutely.
I spoke on a podcast on one of the episodes earlier um, about that the difference between a mom and the difference between a dad is that, for instance, we'll use like I'll use the same example I used in that episode is with my son, right? My youngest son,
Hmm.
he's one, and his mom could tell him all day long, do this, do that, do this, do that. And he kind of like blows her off. Like she'll tell him stop crying or whatever the case may be. And he'll just blow it off. I'll just give him a look. I'll just look at him and
Hmm.
he'll go from tears to just lip out. And then if I say something,
Yeah.
his initial response is to cry. And then he already knows it's like at the age of one already, he already knows what's followed at, which is hush. And then he'll just go to being quiet without saying too many words. But I'll hear her, and I only usually get involved because I don't want her, for lack of better words, power to be only forced because of my presence.
Yes.
Him to respect her as his mother and what she say as his mother, even when I'm not there. I mean,
Right.
I can't have him at the store with her acting a dang on fool because I ain't there, you know.
Right.
And I don't want to become one of those I don't want those situations where she'd be like, I'm gonna tell your dad. That's the only way that he complies. I need him to
Mm.
respect her and to low key fear her um, on their own recognizance. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
because I think so many times that happens that moms don't develop a respect between her and the child, them and the child. Only
Hmm.
the respect comes from I'll tell your dad. And then the kid be like, oh no, like I'm gonna get a whooping when I get home, or dad's mean. And then that also, well, a lot of times what moms don't understand is that affects the dynamic of the child and the father's relationship because now they associate only discipline with the father, right? Versus
Yep.
love and care and nurturing as well. We provide that as well. You guys are the primary ones who provide that. And yes, primarily we are, by God, we're put here to discipline and add structure, like you said. But we also provide nurturing too. And we provide
Hmm.
a positive, healthy relationship as well on that aspect.
Yeah.
But I think that both parents, it's a balance between both parents, like and I think that a lot of times with this new age gentle parenting that a lot of these women have adapted, um, that blurs the lines. And then now
Yes.
present fathers have to become strictly a disciplinarian because,
Yeah.
these people are like, oh, I'm not going to whip my kid because, I don't want to do this or because society says that that's abuse. No, well, what does the Bible say? Spare the rod
Right.
for the child, Um,
Right.
and so, and I'm not here to be super religious, but I'm just saying, like, there's a reason why that was said,
Right.
and if you don't get that structure at home, you're going to get it somewhere in the streets or, would you rather be the one spanking your child or would you rather the cops be the one beating them? you know.
Absolutely.
And it very well still could go that way, but we as parents, we have to do what we have to do. We have to do whatever we can do, not what we have to do, what we can do to raise them up and, give them the guidance to be, upstanding citizens and productive citizens. Um,
Yes.
because it's not enough to just make them into be a good person. They have to be productive in society, because you can have all the good morals and stuff like that, but if you don't know how to be productive in society, those morals are going to go out the window because we all are, you know, um, have embedded in us fight or flight, right?
Right.
And so and survival mode. And so if you don't know how to provide for yourself, you don't know how to be a productive person in society, then you're going to
Hmm.
find a way to survive. And that usually turns to, crime, selling drugs, robbing, stealing, all that kind of stuff for survival. But if you teach
Yeah.
structure, for women, if you teach your daughters how to be, a productive woman and a successful woman, and for men, teach you how to be, a true man, you know, then I think that we'll have a better generations to come. But I think that, all this general parenting is one of the biggest downfalls we have with today's society and generations, so uh
I feel like there should be a balance
of
when it comes
course.
to that. There's a time to gentle parent and there's a time to be an enforcer. And sometimes those lines definitely get blurred. And then societal constructs makes it kind of hard to be that type of parent too, because not only are you parenting a child, but you got TikTok, their peers, the parents that are their kids' friends as influences, and a lot of that just it makes it difficult to try to navigate those waters if you're not in a clear headspace as a parent.
So as a parent, right? As a mom
Yeah.
who is raising six children, and you have teenagers who are exposed to, one, public schools, two, social media. What kind of things do you have to, do, incorporate in your parenting to kind of like, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like battle against those things, those
Mm.
influences, those outside influences. What kind of things do you incorporate?
Uh, um, Definitely talking to my kids. Like, I'm not one of those parents that's gonna like sugarcoat and act like I was perfect and that I wasn't out here wilding out, once upon a time. And um, I don't want to be a walking contradiction. So I don't want to say like, oh, don't go do these things because I did it and then not explain why. So I try to be open with them to their understanding. But then I also had to learn that in some instances, I kind of got to take a step back and kind of let them fall, which is hard because I'm very much a mama bear. But I'm real big on conversation. There has been times where I just got to get the bill. Like I'm done talking to you, but you need to understand why you even getting that type of punishment. And that's one of the things that me and my husband kind of bump heads about sometimes because he feels like I talk too much. But that's something I didn't get growing up. I wasn't heard. I didn't have a voice. I wasn't allowed to have an opinion. I wasn't allowed to have feelings about anything. And I wanted my kids to be able to express themselves. And I feel like that kind of helped create a respect boundary. Like understand that you can come talk to me as your mom, but I'm not your friend. That's the
That's
hard
the
part
kicker
for
right
me.
there. Yeah, that's the kick.
Yeah, we can be cool now. My daughters are grown. Like I can be a little homegirl, but still watch your tone. Don't get beside yourself. But I needed them to understand in this moment, my job is not to be your friend. My job is to be your mother, to protect you, provide for you, and give you the essentials so when you do go out here in this world, whether I live to be 100 or I don't make it to see 45, I gave you some tools to be productive. And I think they get that now. I hope they do anyway.
Yeah, it's all let's hope that they would get it. Um, Let me ask you this. So when it
Yeah.
comes to you and your husband, right?
Hmm.
Because like you said earlier, like, that's one of the things that you guys kind of talk about, which is, you talk too much, right? How
Hmm.
do you guys handle that? Because I've seen parents before where, for instance, like, let's just say the mom is, doing something with the kids or, chastising the kids in a certain way or whatever the case may be. And then the
Hmm.
father will come in and be like, no, that's the wrong way to do things, blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
Now you guys are having like some bickering in front of the kids about
Yeah.
how to chastise the kids. How do you guys navigate those waters?
So that's one of my biggest pet peeves because that's the type of environment that I grew up in, like arguing in front of us. So that's one of my biggest things. Whatever we got beef about in front of these kids, we need to be a united front. And just to paint the picture, like we're a blended family. Like he has, two biological, I have my four. So understanding places in each other's lives and our kids' lives is a little difficult as well. But the biggest thing was, and the biggest thing that I was trying to get him to understand is like kids are smarter than we give them credit for, and they can be extremely manipulative. And if they sniff out the weakest link, they're gonna go for the jugular. Like
Yeah.
kids are savages for real. Like they will make you question everything about yourself. So that was one of the biggest things. Like I'll give you an example. We work opposite hours, so he works I would work days. So at one point, as he's coming in from work, I'm leaving to go to work. So there was a lot of times where we would like miss each other. And on the days that he would be off, he would go pick the kids up from daycare. They'll be home with him. And then when I come home, Mommy, I'm hungry. Mommy. And I'm just like, I'm looking at him like, you ain't feed him all day? And he was like, I've been asking them were they hungry, and they kept saying no, and they kept saying no. And as soon as you get here, it's like you starving them. And then I started seeing like, oh, okay, I see what's going on because this was new. This was new territory for me as well,
Mhm.
having like a husband and household and stuff. So I had to tell him, like, listen, these kids see what's up. Like, if you put them on punishment, you need to let me know. So his thing was like, okay, you got in trouble for not cleaning your room. You can't play the PlayStation. I don't know that because I'm at work. So when I come home, he's like, oh, can I play the PlayStation? Yeah, go ahead. Now me and him fussing. Well,
Yeah,
I told him, and I'm like, yeah, you told him, but you didn't tell me. He knows that I don't know.
yeah.
So he just wanted to see how far. So like communication is a real big thing, and I think we're finally starting to get it. But like the kids grown now. We in grandparent mode at this point, but like it took a while for us bumping heads to kind of see like, okay, we gotta be on the same page when it comes to these kids because they'll find a crack and they'll slither their way right through it, and that's the kid nature. Mm,
So one of my last things I want to ask you about parenting and
yeah.
in your family dynamic.
Okay.
So as a single mom who came into the picture with four kids, right?
Yeah.
When you start dating um, your now husband,
Hmm.
at what point did you allow him to become a active father figure in their lives to where the point where he could not even to the extent or even chastise, but like kind of like tell them
Hmm.
what to do, like be a active man in the household. At what time how long did it take you for to do that, and what did you have to look for first?
When we made the decision to move in together, because I feel like at this point you are the other adult in the household, and whether we're working up to you being their stepdad or you're my boyfriend or whatever the case is, we both made a real serious decision to move under the same roof. So, as the other adult in this household, there needs to be boundaries and there needs to be a level of respect. Um, so that's kind of when I was like, okay, at this point, you're here, and there's going to be times when I'm not here and you're here with them, and I need you to be able to enforce whatever and it not be an issue.
Were you ever
But that
worried
was
that
hard.
was you ever worried about like any kind of abuse, like verbal or physical I'm not saying like with him, like I'm
Hmm.
not saying he's that kind of guy. So let me just throw it out there. I'm
Hmm.
not saying that.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm saying it's like just in your subconscious, like did you ever be like, well, hold on, I want to do this, but I'm not because, I hope that, because you never know. It could be the great
yeah,
person. It could be a female, it could be a male. You never know.
yeah.
So my purpose of asking that question is what kind of steps did you have to go through in your mental to get you to a point where you say, okay, I'm gonna take this step to trust, because it's not just you, it's your children
Hmm.
at the same time. You know what I mean? And the same for him.
Yeah,
He brought two kids into be around you. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
but for you, like, what kind of steps did you have to take, mentally to be like to come to the grasp of like, I'm gonna do this and be okay with it.
I'm an observer. I watch behaviors, I watch body language, I watch the things that are not said. I watch how patient you are, how impatient you are, how you respond to things like crisis or um just kid stuff. Like I was more so just watching his response to things. And then I talk to my kids. Like I'm a firm believer that if I'm gonna bring somebody into your life, and this is somebody that I'm choosing to spend the rest of my life with, that means that he's now part of your life as well. And I'm gonna check in with you to see how you feeling about things. Like, are you comfortable with him? Do you feel like maybe he's mean or like I kind of gave them the space to just talk freely, and they've never said anything bad about him. If anything, they're like, well, I feel like he's mean, but he's nice. Because he's kind of like he's very reserved into himself, and if somebody doesn't know him, he looks intimidating, big old dude. But other than that, it was really my kids that kind of sold me on moving forward with him because I saw that they actually did like him,
The reason I asked
and
that is
that was
because I had a guest on in the beginning when I first started this podcast, and I asked her, I was like, so how long did it take you to meet to introduce your kids to this new man? And
okay.
she made like some like long, before I give the answer, what she said, how long did it take you to introduce your children to your man? Truthfully.
Um, so truthfully speaking, my youngest son was like 3 months when we got serious. So he's pretty much been in his life his whole life. Um, but I want to say maybe 6 months almost. Like, so when he was courting me, I wouldn't even let him come inside. Like, we would sit in the car and talk. I wasn't ready to introduce him to my oldest son. So we kind of had a, like I said, it's complicated with us. We had an on again, off again relationship. So when we first started kind of courting each other, I just had my girls and my oldest son. I didn't, it wasn't that I didn't around him. I just wanted to get to know him. So whenever he would come over, you don't need to see the kids. We could sit in the car and talk. And we that went on for about I want to say a good 6 months to almost a year before I started like letting him come in and meet the kids. And then when we got serious, we broke up and went our separate ways. And then we reconnected again. My youngest son was 3 months.
So wait, you broke up with him and got pregnant by another dude?
So it wasn't I broke up with him. I don't want to put him on Front Street.
No,
He
you ain't
was
gotta
being
go
a
on
player.
that. You ain't gotta
He
go
was
on.
being a player. He had another baby and a whole nother situation. I was like, you know what, I can't do this. I'm gonna go on with my life, and if it's meant to be, then we'll find our way back to each other. And that's kind of how it happened.
It don't even
Yeah.
matter. Like you can't put him on blast because at the end of the day, he won. He
He
married you.
did. He say that. He
Right.
says that all the time.
Yeah,
I
he
don't care.
won.
I
I mean,
won.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, whatever dirt he did, it don't matter. He won. You know what I mean?
Give
He
atonement when we said I do. So that's how I
Yep.
try to
You know
keep
what I mean?
it.
So,
Yeah.
but I was just curious because me personally, my theory is this, that I feel like waiting too long can be bad because, right?
Hmm.
So think about this, right? Um, when you start dating somebody, women are emotional creatures, right? You're gonna catch feelings quickly, right? To an extent, right?
Okay.
You're gonna catch feelings eventually, right?
Hmm.
And then so far with the man, like I mean, like me, I'm gonna catch feelings. I know I'll speak for me, like I'll catch, depending on the woman, I might catch feelings quickly, might take longer, but there's gonna be some feelings involved. There's gonna be some
Yeah.
attachment involved, right? And let's just say you wait 6 months.
Hmm.
Everything's going good. You got a relationship going good. Sex is good. All that kind of stuff is good. And then the kid and the other person, whether it's the man or the woman, depending on who it is, well, in your case, the man, let's just say they would have met. Now you damn near in love with this dude. Everything's great. And then he meets the kids and the kids are like, heck no, like they don't get good energy for good vibes from him.
Yeah.
Now you have to make a decision. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna be probably an easy decision. You're gonna have to choose your kids and how they feel and their comfortability, of course, but it kind of sucks for you
Right.
because you found somebody who you like and that you're with, you're vibing with and you care about and probably, maybe even in love with. And then now you have
Yeah.
to cut them off because your kids and him don't get along. So that's what I always tell people, like I was trying, not people, but I told her, I was like, why not introduce them as just a friend? Like why not say, hey, like, like at a, let's just say you have like, you get invited to like a cookout or something. Be like, oh, hey, my friend's coming. Yeah, I ain't got to ride together or nothing like that. Be like, hey, meet me here.
Right.
This is my friend. Hey, these are my kids. It's my friend. So and so. You ain't got to say like, like this is my boyfriend, but this is my friend.
Right.
Let them all intermingle because maybe he told you he liked kids and then now he meets your kids and he's like, okay, okay, and walk away, never talk to him.
Right.
Red flag.
Right.
Or
Right.
maybe he tries to intermingle and the kids are just like not having it. And then
Right.
I'm not saying just based off that first interaction, you're like, you make a decision like, yeah, this ain't gonna work. Unless it's like super, like he made one of your kids cry or super uncomfortable or something. That's different. But
Yeah.
I just feel like waiting too long could be dangerous. But it's also like, in today's society, is one of those things where it's like, you really don't know what the right thing to do is because you could wait a year and then the person be a creeper or you could introduce them early and then the person be amazing or a creeper as well.
Yeah.
Like that's why I was just curious, like how long you waited because obviously it worked out. So all
It
right, so
worked.
we talked about your dad. We talked
Yeah.
about you said you had a stepdad, right?
Hmm.
How's your relationship with your stepdad?
Um, I have mixed emotions about him because when he first started coming around, I didn't like him. It was just something about him that I didn't care for.
You know what I mean?
But then we had like a little bit of a, well, I later found out what it was that I didn't care for. But at one point, like We got along very great. I'm a lover of music, like to my core. And he was a DJ. So that's what we bonded over. Like every Tuesday when a new CD or mixtape would drop, it would be on my bed. Source magazine, Hype magazine, like that's how we bonded. Um, but I also felt like that was a way for him to try to buy my affection because of how he was treating my mom. So there was like it was a love-hate relationship with him. But over time I just ended up just losing respect for him for how he treated my mom. And he's apologized, but it's kind of like that my mother is no longer here to receive that apology. So it does nothing for me.
Did he ever apologize
But
to your mom while she was alive?
not that I'm aware of. The months leading up to my mother's passing, they were not on good terms. I don't want to talk too much about that, but it was their divorce was finalized a couple of months before my mom died, and I'm thankful for that. Let's just say that. But it wasn't good between them.
Do
No.
you? I'm gonna ask you this question, and if you don't want to answer, it's fine.
Okay.
Because you said that their divorce was finalized a couple of months before she passed.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe your mom found peace and she was holding on until she had that divorce, so that way he wouldn't be widowed?
Um, that
Because
was something
here's
I
what-
begged. I begged my mother to do that. I begged her to do it.
because the reason why I'm saying that is because if she would have died while they were married, right? Uh, he would be forever connected to her and forever call her. Technically, he'd be forever your stepdad, and
Hmm.
he would be forever widowed, because of her, and she would be forever
Hmm.
his wife, in a sense, right? His deceased
Yeah.
wife. So I was just curious if you thought that maybe she was like at peace once he the divorce was finalized and she was like, okay, now I can, just whew.
Um, I'm gonna say no
Okay.
because the divorce was a conversation that I had to have with my mother because they had been separated for years and still remained married. And it just got to a point where it was like, this is what you need to finally break free from him. Because I feel like no matter you can move across the country, change your name 1,000 times, as long as that piece of paper still says that you are his wife, he's gonna have some type of connection to you. I was like, this is the chapter of your life where you're starting over, then he needs to be left in that book when you close it. And she went and got her divorce, and it was finalized in I want to say September, and she passed December.
Hey, they didn't get to enjoy her freedom too much.
No.
So what kind of relationship did you have with your mom?
Um, we had I want to say we had a pretty good relationship. Um, I more so was my mother's protector because she struggled with drugs. And she struggled with mental health as well. And plus the abuse from my stepfather just kind of sent her down a spiral.
Okay.
So in a sense, I just I became her protector, but that was my dog, like
How long
overall
did she
out of everything.
how long did she
Mhm.
battle with drug abuse and mental health? And let me ask
Um,
you, before you answer that,
yeah.
did the mental health issues come before the drugs, or the drugs first and then the mental health?
So I always felt like there was some depression there just based off of the stories that she's told me about things. Of course, when we were having those talks, the mental health language wasn't very vocal.
Mhm.
So the depression didn't have a name, so to speak. But I felt like she's always dealt with depression. But then when my aunt died, it kind of she never really shook back from that. So there was some PTSD in there for sure. Um, bipolar, and then with the situation with her and my stepdad, she ended up becoming a paranoid schizophrenic.
Okay.
Yeah, so she used the drugs to kind of deal with that. And then also my mother was spiritually gifted. And sometimes when people have those type of gifts and they don't know what to do with them, they just kind of want to suppress them. So she got high. That was her escape.
What do you mean spiritually gifted?
Yeah. So my mother, she has the gift of sight. And I'm gonna tell you the story. So I remember I was in high school And um my friend Capricia, she kept trying to hook me up with her brother, right? So we're in the hallway talking, and I'm being a little schoolgirl, giddy giddy. I get home, my mom was like, "Who's that boy you was talking to at school?" So I'm looking at her like trying to lie. She was like, "Don't lie." So she explains the conversation, what he had on. I'm just looking at her like,
Are you
"How do
hurt?
you know this?" I don't know what it's called, astral projecting, I guess people would call that, but she was able to do that. She was able to look at you and read you, see things about you that you haven't told anyone. Um, Definitely an empath, picking up on people's emotions, and she didn't know how to deal with that. And also, she would, what is it called? What's the other gift? I don't know the name for it. Um, I can't think of the name of it right now. But she had so you know the type of church that we grew up in, and she was able to, I guess you would say, cast out spirits or be
Oh,
able to call them out. She was able to pick up that very intuitive, very, very, very intuitive, very, very, very sensitive. Absolutely.
you still go to church?
No.
Why not? What made you stop going to church? I can tell you why I stopped going to church. You know why I
Several
stopped going?
reasons.
You want to know why I stopped going to church?
Yeah, tell me.
All right. So I stopped going to church because obviously growing up, first off, I felt like growing up, I felt like that when I went to church with my grandmother back in California and stuff, I felt like church was kind of like fun. And I'm
Hmm.
not talking about like fun, like we went there and we had fun. Like it was like I felt like I wanted to go.
Right.
And then I felt like when we moved to North Carolina, I felt like it became a chore. Because like when I was in, I don't remember ever in California going to church two
Like
times
5 days a
one day.
week, 2 times a day.
Yeah, two
Yeah.
times a day. Like gotta go to morning church, night church, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning. This it just became too much, right?
Yeah.
And I used to remember how earlier I told you about how men don't think about kids and stuff like that. Well, I for sure thought about when I turned 18 and when I could not go to church no more. I was regular because it felt like in our household we were forced to go to church. Like we didn't go to church, I felt like we might have got a whooping. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so
Yep.
been prayed for and everything, which leads me to my next part. Once I turned 18, joined the military, and kind of like went and did my own thing and chose not to go to church when I would decide to come back to church because the Bible says, come as you are, that the doors are always open, right? So I decided, okay,
Hmm.
well, I might not have been to church in 6 months, but I want to go to church today. And instead of going to the church and being accepted, I went to church and immediately was greeted with like you were talking about earlier about spirits and stuff like that. They want to cast me out,
Hmm.
cast out the demons that they thought I had, and all this kind of stuff, and make a spectacle out of me in front of everybody. And I mean, if you know me, I ain't with that, So I ended up actually one of the ladies that was there. I knew some dirt on her, and I don't think I've ever told nobody this. Uh,
Uh-oh.
I knew some dirt on her. Matter of fact, because this is my podcast and I keep it real. I ain't, I'm a name drop. I don't care.
Okay.
I really don't care. Because these people need to know that they hurt me. Um, so there was a lady at our church, Sister Hunter. Um, she decided that I don't even know her to be any kind of preacher or anything like that. She felt the need to pull me to the side and start praying for me, putting her hand all on my head with that little greasy palm and all this stuff. And I'm like, who anointed you to do this? You know, I'm grown, and first off, if two people, Bible says two people touch and agree. Well, I didn't agree to this. You're just doing it. And you're over here praying for me. And I know for a fact, I'm not gonna throw that out there, but I know for a fact some stuff, so at the time. So I was like, you're not praying for me. You know what I mean? And so it wasn't just her. I had a problem with the fact that Pastor Thomas decided that in the middle of her sermon, when I walked in the church, to call me out by name when I'm walking to my seat and asked me to come to the altar on 3 different occasions. and then have
Mm.
all these deacons and ministers come around me and start praying for me. And the sermon got stopped and like put like I'm like coming in with so many like I'm the devil, and they had to rebuke me in a sense. I didn't like that, so I literally stopped going to church up until the first time I went to church since then was December 2023. And I found a church out here that don't do that. I found a church out here
Mm.
that I don't go often, but this church made me feel so loved, man. They literally make me feel um like they check on me, not in a check on way like like you should come to church, they check on me genuinely and be like, hey man, like just want to reach out to you, see how you're doing, they don't ever drop no Bible verses. Still to this day, it's been almost 2 years. They have never texted me or called me and dropped a Bible verse on me. They've never done nothing like that. They just invite me. They do remind me, like, hey, like, we do have a men's group. The guy who calls me, he said to me, he said, hey,
Mm.
I watch your podcast. He's like, um, you should, he's like, we do have a men's group and we meet every third Sunday of the month. You should come check it out. It's like an uplifting thing. And that's what I'm about. So what did I do?
Right.
Because of the way you presented it to me, I came and I enjoyed it. And we
Yeah.
actually, I think I even talked about my podcast there, in front of everybody. So that's why I started going to church. Why did you start going to church?
Ooh. Okay. So same said church. Um,
I'll throw the name out there.
I
223 Deliverance Tabernacle in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
oh Lord. um, I tried to be mindful of what I say because I do have relationships with the children of these people.
Yeah,
But um, I watched the judgment with my mom and with her struggles. And, a part of being in that ministry was that you also were supposed to be able to go to leadership for counseling. And that was in turn used against her. Um, she went to them for counseling about me because I had gotten pregnant when I was 17. Nobody thought to ask me, hey, are you okay? Like, why'd you get pregnant? It wasn't done intentionally, but I was looking for something and I thought I found it. So instead of me getting counseling, I was then called out in front of a full congregation to come to the front to face the congregation. And then I was told basically to tell in the microphone why I got called up there. And I had to tell the whole church that I was pregnant. And then they proceeded to pray for me and lay hands on me and then expect me to go back and sit in my seat without shame. So we stopped going to church after that. And then a few years went by. I actually had two children by the time I was 19 with my baby's dad or whatever. So now my mom was like, look, I think it's time for us to go back to church. I'm still cool with such and such from True Victory. They're over here now. They've been inviting me. Let's go. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go with her. Do they have the same father? When are you going to bring the baby's dad to church? Are y'all still together? Like, it was never no concern for me or my salvation, just my business.
yeah.
And then there was an elder from True Victory that was also an elder at this church, and he presented himself to be a father figure. He was very perverse, always making comments about my body, calling me to tell me he had dreams about my private parts, and he wants to know if I'm having. Yeah, yeah, that's an off-camera conversation. But that just turned me off. It completely turned me off, and I kept trying. I kept trying to try different churches because I got tired of my pain being invalidated by saying, well, not all churches are like that. Okay, I get that. But at the same time, this is what has been done to me by the people in the church. And I didn't go there for them. I went there because I was taught that in order to seek God, you got to go to church. I wasn't taught that I could have a relationship with him outside of a religious building. So I'm associating my relationship with God with how many times I go to church, whether I'm there every Wednesday, every Bible study, every choir rehearsal, every morning and afternoon service. That's what I was taught that my relationship with God was supposed to look like. So it wasn't until that I started like just going on my own spiritual journey and just like trying to find God for myself that I felt like I don't need the church. Um, just
Is this where the
because,
go ahead, sorry.
go ahead, go ahead. What are you
I
gonna
was
ask?
gonna say, is this where the protecting became with your mother?
With my mother, absolutely. Just life in general. I saw how family treated her. Her own mother, my grandmother, who I love dearly, but me and my grandma done got into it about my mom. Just because I saw how broken she was and nobody looked at her brokenness, they just looked at the exterior and judged her off of that. And one thing I can say about my mother, no matter how much she struggled with addiction, she loved God. And I feel like when she passed, like he took her because he was like, listen, I'm not letting you suffer no more. My mother has been through a lot, but just like I couldn't even imagine what she was going through in her head. You know, we've had conversations, but to struggle that poorly and then to see how you're being treated by people that basically made a vow to protect you once you joined their organization and that didn't happen. It was sad to watch. So I just decided, you know what, it's not for me anymore. And I had to let go of the judgment because I noticed that a lot of people felt like because I didn't go to church anymore that I turned from God or I didn't know God anymore. And I had to like get over that because I kept finding myself trying to go to church just to appease what everybody else thought of me versus me working on whatever my relationship with him needed to look like.
So church, a lot of people use church for their support as like a support system. You spoke about that earlier, kind of like
Yeah.
indirectly, you know. Because you've I could say you lost the church, but because I guess you could say you lost trust in the church, what does your support system now look like?
Um, I don't know that I necessarily have one. I know that I have people that if I need to be spiritually fed, that I can connect with them. But what I've learned in this journey is that it's very lonely. But I noticed that God will place people in place as I need them. And then whenever that season is done, it's done. So I don't necessarily can say that I have a support system, but there are people in place when I need them to be. I'll put it like that.
How important do you think having a solid support system is? Like how important do you think that is?
Um, I feel like it's only as important as you make it
Hmm.
because I feel like when there's too many people in the village, you tend to lean on them and take your eyes off of God because now you're like, okay, well, I'm going through such and such. You haven't picked up the phone to call me, or you haven't called to check on me. You know, you start getting into your feelings about that person not being there for you in your moments because you expect them to. And I feel like when that happens, you get away from the bigger picture, which is growth, and you kind of just become like emotionally dependent on people.
Yeah,
And I've kind of mastered the art of detachment. So I really feel like it's important as a maker. I do feel like it is important, but it can't be my core. And
yeah.
that's just speaking for me. Um, I just feel like throughout my life, like I said God has strategically placed people in those moments to be whatever we needed for each other, and whether that forged a relationship or we went our separate ways, it's never no bad blood. But I just know that I've learned through the church that you cannot depend on man. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's
That's
God's
true.
honest truth. It's the God's honest truth.
So I did want to ask you another question about in the situation with your mom.
Yeah.
Uh, so well, it's actually like a two-part question. So one, did her mental health issues and her drug abuse, did that, last like the majority of your life?
I would say it got really bad when we moved back to New York. I feel like when my aunt died, we came down here and my mother got on her feet, and I felt like she was starting to feel better. I know that that piece of her was still missing. I don't know what it feels like to miss a sibling, but I know how close they were. And I feel like that's something that she never quite got over. But when she got with my stepdad, it was like he isolated her. Um, and then like she became emotionally, financially, mentally dependent on him. He controlled everything. And there was some root work involved with that. They from the islands and stuff, so it's a lot of that, like a lot of spiritual warfare going on with her as well. But I feel like everything kind of came to a head when the final last time when she tried to leave him. That's when I saw a different person. It's like something in her just snapped because he kept trying to get her back, but he was like messing with her mentally, like calling her like, oh, I think I heard I went and got tested, I got HIV. Just like anything just to like get a reaction out of her. And it
Yeah.
just she never just quite snapped back from that.
And then as a kid, how did that affect you?
It
Having to,
made me angry.
oh,
Um,
well, how did it affect your life? Like, like I know, I mean, I'm sure that made you angry. You can speak to that as well.
yeah.
But like, how did it affect your overall, just like your life as a kid?
Um, there was a lot of instability. I had to grow up really fast. Because I had to step in for my siblings a lot. She would jizz and be gone 3 to 5 days sometimes, and we find her at a hospital, whatever. It definitely put me in a position where I had to be in the streets because I had to know all the dope boys in my neighborhood. I had to go in spots looking for my mom. Like, if y'all see her, call me. You know what I'm saying? So it put me in situations that I didn't want to be a part of, and it also put me in a position where I had to choose a different lifestyle so I could make sure that my mom was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But predominantly, your siblings are younger than you, right?
Yeah, I'm the oldest on both sides.
So predominantly, you had to step up when she was missing for those days to be the mother figure, to be the parental figure, especially
Yeah.
during the times when your stepdad and her were on like off, they weren't together, right?
Yeah. Well, even when he was there, because he still was like, he would just go to work like it was nothing. So I would almost didn't graduate because I stayed home to make sure, they got on the bus or they went to daycare and dinner was cooked. So like I sacrificed my childhood really to make sure that they was good because he didn't care.
How many did they have kids together?
My two younger brothers, yeah.
Okay, and so you didn't care about his two kids?
Nope. I was pretty much my mom's baby daddy up until I'm dead ass. Like I was the baby daddy. Like those are my kids.
No,
And
I
it
believe you. It's
wasn't
just the way you say it. It's just,
like I did what I had to do to make sure they were straight. And honestly, like I said that year that she died, like she was going to recovery and she was getting herself together and my brothers, they were dealing with it the best they could. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really understand what was going on and they started having some behavioral issues. And it was only my reach could only go but so far because I only had temporary guardianship of them. So she made it to send them to their dad, and they've been with him ever since. But up until then, I think my oldest little brother was 12, and I think the youngest might have been 10. I was taking care of them.
did your
Yeah.
did your mom ever get clean before she passed?
She made 1 year sober the
That,
day that she went to the hospital.
okay. During that time, during that year, did you ever get a chance to, tell her about, talk to her about your childhood and how that affected you?
I didn't feel like that mattered. Um, I just wanted her to be okay. I didn't want to give her any reason to relapse
Relapse, yeah.
because she went to like an inpatient mental health facility and thank God I had a nurse that listened to me and I finally got the state to step in and take her because she was suicidal. Um, and the last attempt when they came to interview her, because I kept begging them for a situation, like she needs help, and that's the only way I could get her to help. And when she didn't show any remorse, that was all the ammunition they needed to step in. So they sent her to I think it's Greenville, North Carolina. She did 90 days intensive patient therapy, and then went to a halfway house, and then finally transitioned into her own place. And the day that she got her keys is the day that she passed from a brain aneurysm. So the aneurysm ruptured that day. So every conversation that we had was more so just me trying to encourage her and tell her I was proud of her and just trying to uplift her because I know that you can't really heal in the place that you got sick. And I know it was hard for her to come home and visit and stuff like that. So those conversations was just between me and God at that point, as far as, and my therapist. as far as childhood stuff because I never wanted her to feel like she wasn't a good mother because she did the best that she could. And now seeing and understanding grandmother's dynamic, it I understood why she was the way that she was. So I just wanted to give her some grace.
That's good. But did your mom ever talk to her family about the way that, you know, because in a sense, you think about it, right? She's on drugs.
Yeah.
She's battling with mental health, right? Issues.
Hmm.
And the people who are supposed to be her support system, the people who are supposed to be there to have her back, to help her get clean, to, all those good things right there. Instead, they're the ones who, like you said earlier, you had to defend her too. Um,
Hmm.
how did that, if you noticed, how did that affect your mom?
As far as the family not being supportive,
Yeah, like the things that they were saying or things that they were doing, like how did that affect her?
it hurt. Like I can't tell you how many times I didn't wipe tears off my mother's eyes, but she never like one thing she never did is she never showed face. Like if something was bothering her, she wasn't gonna let them. But behind closed doors, we saw the body language changes, we saw the whispers, we saw the shifts in energies. You can tell when somebody has spoken ill about you and then you come around them because their energy is just off
Oh,
towards you and you
yeah,
don't know it's off-putting, you know what I'm saying? And that was a lot of the dynamic whenever we would go around family members or whatever. But what I will say to that is that we're not a very close knit family. So it wasn't like we had to endure that all the time. But
yeah,
when there were moments where we had to, it was very uncomfortable because as a child, my mother kept telling me, stay in the child's place, but I'm ready to go off because I didn't like what you said to my mom.
yeah.
I didn't like the way you was talking to her. So like that's where she and I used to bump heads because I'm like, I'm ready to I'll go to war about her my mama, but she'd be like, mind your manners, still be respectful. So yeah, but when I got grown, I let her have it.
Well, what kind of good memories do you have of your mom? Tell me about something good that happened that you remember about your mom.
Um, so I remember my mom used to sing. Like that's why I love music so much. Like when I say fully engulfed in music, woke up to music, went to bed to music. She actually was in a singing group with my aunt Cindy when they were younger. What is his name? I don't want to lie. Chris Brown's manager.
Oh no.
Um, so he was trying to put my mom and my aunt into like a group, and then my mother just kind of lost her passion for pursuing the music after my aunt died.
Okay.
But I remember when we moved down here, we would she'd be in the living room singing, or we would go with her to the studio. I remember me and my homegirl Clary, shout out to Duna. She was trying to turn us into a girl group. Like we was gonna be her little protege. So she used to have us perform in the living room and just memories like that. It was any good memory I have. My mom was always surrounded by something with music. Very goofy, loved Martin.
Martin
Crack
the TV
jokes,
show?
laugh. Yes, like she would quote Martin down. But she was just a goofy person when she was in a good mood and she was very lighthearted. But every good memory I have with my mother is it has something to do with music.
So at
Yeah.
this point in the episode, what I want you to do is you're a
Okay.
mom of 6 kids, correct?
Yes, I would claim my biological and my bonus babies. No offense to
Yeah.
their mama, because I don't,
And
that's
I'm
kind of
and I'm gonna
touchy,
throw
but
you on. I'm gonna throw you under the bus because
okay.
you didn't even mention this, and I know it's
What?
to be true, is that you're also a grandma.
I am.
Yeah, man. Big shout out to your grandkid. I hope the grandkid watches this one day and be like, "Dang, you forgot about me, grandma." No, I'm joking. But no, before we get out of here, as a mom, what kind of advice would you give your kids? Life advice would you give your kids right now?
Um, it goes by extremely fast. Like live in the moment, make memories, take a lot of pictures because and videos because that's all you're gonna have. Um, cut people off where you need to. It is okay to have boundaries, and that means family included. Like that's one of the things that I teach my kids. I don't care who it is. Like you don't have to tolerate any disrespect or belittling or anything from anybody, blood or not. But my biggest thing to all of them is just I need them to stick together because once I'm gone, once their dad's gone, stepdad's gone, grandparents, they're gonna have each other. They're gonna need to lean on each other. So I really need them to keep their sibling relationship locked tight. Like that is the biggest and best advice that I can give them.
And then the last thing, so obviously you understand the premise of my podcast, which is
Yes.
to tell your story with hopes that you can encourage somebody, inspire, and motivate them to keep going, and to not choose the latter, which is to unalive themselves. So, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's battling with mental health issues, and they're considering possibly choosing that route? What kind of advice would you give to them?
I am a strong advocate for therapy. Therapy has been very instrumental in my growth. It took a couple tries. There were some therapists that we just didn't mesh well. I didn't like their vibes, and I was just like, I'm not doing therapy no more. And I was like, you know what? Let me just try. Let me just keep trying. And finally, I found a really, really, really great therapist. And honestly, I did all the work. She just listened. She listened and she gave me tools, but I also had to be very honest with myself. And I had to be honest with her because that's the only way you can heal is if you talk about the uncomfortable things, talk about the things that you may not feel comfortable sharing with someone that you're close to. But the only way that you're going to heal is to be completely and 100% vulnerable and honest with yourself first before you can even tell your truth to someone else. So, therapy.
I did
Yes.
have one more question because you reminded me just now with something you said. Uh,
Okay.
Before we get out of here, how important do you think that in a relationship being emotionally vulnerable is? How important do you think that is? Being able to be emotionally vulnerable
Um,
on both
I
aspects,
feel
man
like
and woman.
there's a degree to that because I feel like being emotionally vulnerable can be emotions are temporary, right? So if you're always operating in emotion, you're never going to appeal to the logic and y'all just going to be going back and forth about feelings instead of what the actual issue is. So I do feel like to a degree there needs to be some vulnerability, like, hey, you hurt my feelings. But I also need to be able to express that you hurt my feelings instead of me lashing out and yelling at you when the whole time I'm just upset that you said that you didn't like my shirt. But
Yeah.
if I don't know how to, articulate what I'm feeling, then my hurt feelings can come across as anger. So that vulnerability, there's layers to that, but I do think it is important to answer your question.
Okay. Well, look, man, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. First, what do you think about the podcast?
I love it. I think it is a great platform. You make it so easy to just be open and speak truth, and I appreciate the safe space.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, for all you guys who are viewing this episode, go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and follow us on Instagram at Minor Emotions underscore BDP, on TikTok as well at Minor Emotions the podcast. And if you'd love to come on and be like Meisha, tell your story with hopes to inspire, motivate, and encourage somebody to keep going, shoot us an email to Minor Emotions the podcast at gmail.com. And if you want to follow Misha and her journey, and you see she's a wise, intelligent person, uh, I'll tag her in the video and give her a follow, and it's up to her if she accepts.
Absolutely.
But
No
again,
weirdos.
I appreciate you, man. I got a lot of love for you. It's good hearing from
Same
you.
here.
Uh, you be blessed. Take care of them 6 kids and enjoy being a grandma. We out of here. Peace.
Thank you. Peace.